Hi, my name is Shivam, and I'm going to present my Pecha Kucha project. And my country I selected was India. So, just a quick introduction of what out of body experiences are. They're basically events where people experience a sense of disassociation from their physical bodies and frequently see themselves from a perspective that differs from their typical physical perception. And in the Indian culture, where they're frequently viewed as an extension of one's spiritual path, these encounters are really intriguing to look at since spiritually, mental health, and bodily autonomy are very closely tied in Indian social and also religious fabric. So, in order to see, better comprehend the consciousness from an Indian perspective, my whole study is going to explore how out of body experiences are seen in Indian society, and how the phenomena represents deeper cultural values. So, just to give some context, I already talked about the out of body experience, what it is, but long standing customs and teachings that accept the notion that consciousness transcends the physical body, which is seen in Hindu scriptures such as Buddhism and Hinduism. Also, some local numerous tribal and regional practices. So these tend to credence to the spiritual interpretation. And moving on, kind of leading on what I was saying before, to the mind and body spirit interaction in India. The interconnection of the mind, spirit, and body is a fundamental belief in India that influences many facets of daily life. This can be possible through religious rituals, family beliefs, and intellectual ideas. And this is kind of hard to, I guess, explain, but in a way, but this perspective makes it possible to interpret experiences like the out of body experiences as a way of spiritual life rather than psychological or physiological occurrences. Therefore, the out of body experiences are rarely written off as unimportant and are viewed as good manifestations of consciousness within this mind, body, and spirit paradigm. Rather, they are welcomed as worthwhile chances for people to get closer to their spiritual selves and discover their mission. I'd say it's more of like an inner realization rather than something that's psychological. So moving on to the spiritual beliefs, obviously the Hinduism and any other culture in India, they take religion very, very seriously. And many Indian communities and various tribal groups view them as very deep and meaningful. These experiences are frequently framed as religious or mystical terms, where the soul's departure from the body signifies a connection with the divine or journey towards self realization. For example, people within these traditions, the out of body experiences are not considered unusual, but instead are seen as valuable and hold a spiritual affirmation and reinforce deeply held values. So, looking at some examples of the spirituality, the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads, that are one of the main Hindu texts, are examples of Indian religious philosophical writings. I personally, I think my parents have read this book, and they have explained some things about out of body experiences to me within the Indian culture. And these teachings kind of define a higher truth compared to something that's just mental. And this aligns with the culture's emphasis on spiritual development. And just to quote, according to the Bhagavad Gita, out of body experiences are really nothing new. Everyone has heard a study that was done on the Bhagavad Gita that everyone has had them, for dreams are nothing less than an out of body experience. During sleep, we enter the dream state when our subtle body leaves the gross form and enjoys a different reality in the subtle plane. The subtle body is the vehicle which carries the soul out of the body into another, which new body at the time of death. This kind of shows that out of body experiences are not rare in Hindu culture, and this ideology is something that is, I'd say, not appreciated enough, as this can help people connect to their spiritual side. Looking at personal interpretations, obviously this can impact your spiritual growth, personal relationships, and differs differently by person to person from their spiritual beliefs, cultural background, and kind of the community's acceptance of metaphysical experiences. Looking at traditional healing and out-of-body experiences, traditional treatment methods in several parts of India frequently include out-of-body experiences as a call for spiritual counseling as opposed to medical assistance. In order to help people digest and incorporate these experiences, they kind of tend to go to traditional healers, spiritual counselors, and community elders. And these approaches are based on the idea that out of body experiences are normal and that spiritual activity can counteract a negative impact and they may have on a person's mental and emotional well being. This is kind of in line with India's larger culture of well being because it's more community based and supports means of comprehending. A main topic I also would like to talk about is stigmas around the mental health, because mental health and metaphysical experiences are negatively looked upon in Indian society. Talking about them in public can be very difficult. Many people are reluctant to discuss this in public for fear of being misunderstood or judged. So social conventions that prevent discussing mental health, particularly when it comes to spiritual occurrences, can also further push this negative stigma. And because the out-of-body experiences may be framed as either sacred or signs of psychiatric illness, people may really resist to get help or kind of come out of these out-of-body experiences. Looking at an experimental study I looked at, they kind of said, to summarize, that this study highlights the importance of conducting situational analysis. We reported poor awareness and knowledge about mental illness, belief in faith and traditional healers, scarcity of resources, poor access to appropriate mental health care facilities, and high costs for seeking mental health care. These are kind of all the borders, or I'd say roadblocks that they have that align behind the stigma that in Indian culture the mental out-of-body experiences are not really accepted. Looking at a macro level influence, I'd say the question of whether out-of-body experiences should be accepted or seen as mental health is something that Indian society frequently struggles with. But I'd say by looking at a larger picture, this study shows how cultural beliefs and resources are accessible and can also influence legitimacy and acceptance of these out-of-body experiences. I kind of briefly touched upon this before, but as I talked about Hindu culture and religion, it's more deeply tied to spiritual values compared to other countries because it allows a reflection of spiritual connectedness that goes beyond the material world. And a big question is spirituality versus mental illness. I briefly touched upon this before, but there is a fine line, but there's a significant gap between spirituality and medical interpretations of out-of-body experiences, but there's also a fine line. So kind of looking at this, it's addressing how society stigmatizes these can have a very big impact. So I have a journal study that I looked at where they kind of basically summarize that the wisdom to know the difference between the above, acceptance of handicaps, tempered self-control, harmonious relationships with self, others, including nature and God, are essential features of mental health. So it kind of seems that if a person is well carried, then people will seem that this out-of-body experience is spiritual. But if someone is not, then they might diagnose them with mental health problems, which is something that's a very, very fine line, which I was talking about before. Research methodology. So basically, this it's just looking at how I looked at it, which is case studies, which offered in-depth insights of how cultural context impacts cognition. Some key findings were that these viewpoints support the notion that out-of-body experiences provide spiritual or individual insights that are a natural component of the human experience. And it's crucial to see how these experiences are incorporated in day-to-day living and esteemed as a component of spiritual growth. Looking at ethical considerations, since out-of-body experiences are frequently deep and personal significance, it is imperative to depict that participants' experiences with them with ethical awareness. Obviously, it's a very hard topic, and out-of-body experiences may be very personal to some people, but respecting ethical norms keeps participants' trust and guarantees that their viewpoints are taken into account in the study's overall narrative. Some look at financial barriers is obviously seeking mental health care treatment in India, which impacts people's capacity to seek support for such out-of-body experiences, particularly in locations where they don't have a lot of money or financial obstacles may be a social stigma. The fact is that they should emphasize the necessity to provide reasonably priced mental health services to those who are affected or experiencing out of body experiences. For those going through them, combining mental health treatment with spiritual viewpoints may pave the road for a more better overall support. Obviously, the clients can be met by care providers by developing mental health treatments that respect the mind body spirit connection. So overall, out of body experiences are emphasized in the study as a significant experience that provide insight into Indian society's views on the mind, body, and spirit. We can promote better empathy and appreciation for these intricate experiences by comprehending out of body experiences in the context of their cultural and spirituality. Also, supporting mental health services that take spiritual beliefs into account can create more welcoming and culturally aware support networks, in addition to honoring many worldwide views by respecting out of body experiences and other metaphysical experiences, which can overall promote well being and make people feel understood within social and personal frameworks. So, just to leave everyone with the question, obviously I dived in and looked at how much I could, but obviously it's the more you look at it, the more you can find. So the question I leave you guys with is, how might our understanding of mental health change if we embrace spiritual experiences like out of bodies experiences as integral to personal well-being rather than dismissing them as mere anomalies?